I'm Vasanta Vaikunt, a professional classical dancer and a founder of lifeandliving.org, which is an NGO for emotional support. And I'm also founder of Just Speak, where we are all meeting right now. And I'm an award-winning, national and state award-winning dancer. That's all I'm going to say about myself for now. And I'm also a motivational speaker in corporates and also in the universities. I'm aligned with the Ramaya Institute of Technology for my lifeandliving.org that I run. So now welcome all of you and thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us tonight. And welcome to the Just Speak stage for our 7th edition today. Now, during the pandemic last year, I conceived of this platform where cross-section of people could actually talk, interact, discuss, and debate on social issues. We started with mental wellness session. Then we went to marriage, to be or not to be, and can media be the life changer, and demystify health and wellness with Dr. Matthias and Mahesh Bhupati, and to name a few. Now, I would like to introduce my team, without whom I wouldn't have been able to do the 7 editions of Just Speak as I'm doing today. Now I welcome Nalini on the screen, and please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Vasanta. Hi, everyone. So we meet again for yet another session with Just Speak. Thanks to all of you for having taken time to be with us. As Vasanta introduced, I am Nalini Nanjundaya, a co-founder of Just Speak. I'm a founder of an NGO called the LSN Trust, and our trust works with women. We basically educate women, empower women, educate the girl child, while also concentrating on health issues. I'm also a Rotarian, and you're going to be hearing a lot of Rotarians this evening. And happy to say that I'll soon be vice president of the club. So while so much of fear and concern has been experienced during the pandemic, I feel that Just Speak has been a lifeline to a lot of people. Our talks have featured, as Vasanta just mentioned, many eminent speakers who have addressed on current issues. And today you'll hear a lot more. More important, you'll hear 2 doctors and people who have done a lot of work during this pandemic. But before we go on, I think you need to meet 2 more members of our team. So it's over to you, Reshma, right now.
Yeah, I welcome Reshma onto the screen, and please introduce yourself.
Thanks, Vasanta and Nalini. Hi, everyone. My name is Reshma Rajpal. I'm a part of Just Speak team, an MBA graduate from Delhi, settled in Bangalore, a homemaker, mother. I curate fashion events. I'm passionate about fitness and making friends, facing life's upheavals and challenges head on over the past, and coming out victorious and motivating others along the way who are battling their own issues has made me who I am today by God's grace. I'm delighted to be contributing and be a part of the esteemed forum Just Speak. Just Speak gives people an opportunity to hear the views of experts from different fields and to speak their minds, and has helped them a lot during these difficult times. Our Just Speak founder, Vasanta Vaikunt, has been an inspiration to all of us. Recently, Vasanta participated twice in United Nations Global Religious Conferences and has become a part of the council. I'm really excited to hear the experiences and views of our expert panelists on managing the pandemic going forward. Thank you all. And over to you, Vasanta.
Yeah, Sirini, Mysore, I request you to come on the screen, please.
Thank you, Vasanta. Good evening and a very warm welcome to all present today. I am Sirini Mysore, a homemaker and an event facilitator. I have been a part of a few social organizations like Roundtable and Ladies Circle India, Inner Wheel Club of Bangalore. Right now, I am enjoying the post of becoming a grandmom. This pandemic has taught us many things, how to deal with life and face all kind of difficulties by being brave, having faith, gratitude, moving forward with positivity and hope. I have tried to help all those who have reached out to me with the best I could during these difficult times. I'm a health enthusiast, and that's what attracted me to be a part of Just Speak. My entire family and friends I have reached out to have benefited from this platform and the varied topics offered here. Mrs. Vasanta Vaikont, founder of JS, is a leader and an inspiration to all of us. I am really happy to be getting this opportunity to work with such a dynamic team. Thank you and looking forward for an enriching session today. Thank you, ladies.
Oh, thank you so much, Srini, for that lovely introduction of yours. And Just Speak, I must say, is a space where you can speak your mind and see how your opinions can be valuable to the society. This time, we are happy to have an expert panel to share their views on positive pulse of the pandemic that will surely unfold and reboot your personality to move forward with this strange, uncanny virus. We proudly welcome and feel honored to have Dr. Professor H. Paramesh, famous pulmonologist and environmentalist, Dr. Arjun Srivatsa, senior neurosurgeon, Columbia, Asia, Mr. Ram Kumar Seshu, author of Born to Win, motivational speaker in many platforms, Harshini Devata, an intense social worker, and Kritya, our youngest dynamic high school student from Malaya Aditi, for our session on positive pulse of the pandemic. Now, we have been battling it out mentally and physically for the past 2 years. Now it's time to think out of the box to see how we can go forward and eliminate this fear and anxiety. The human transmission at such speed is a new phenomenon, and people are reacting differently at different levels. Now, however, the resilience and the patience our country people have shown is exemplary. With such a population, huge population, we fought this virus very bravely, and thanks to our medical fraternity, social workers, mental wellness counselors, and of course, our government support. Now we feel disappointed with coming of the second wave, and we are still in a state of shock. We don't know what's going on out there, but media also does not help much in retaining our sanity, especially when they talk about the Delta Plus that has no information and source. But having said that, media also has given us valuable information during this period when we were under lockdown. Now, we say be positive. Being positive has become a holistic cliche. According to me, in reality, it is merely an opposite of negative. Now, we need to transcend these polarities and get into objectivity, a space where courage, compassion, cooperation becomes spontaneous. Now, recent struggle for oxygen is our teacher, telling us to be grateful for every breath we take. Now, let us not get crippled by fear of death, but get driven by love of life. And we are humans, cannot be caged forever. Maybe our lifestyle has changed, wearing masks and distancing ourselves, which we need to continue for sure. But we will get there very soon, my viewers, and have a gala reopening of the world that will never get shut. Now, I am so happy to have you all on board with us. And over to you, Nalini. Please introduce our Dr. Paramesh.
Thank you, Vasanta. Thank you. That was wonderful hearing everything that you had to say. Yes, and while we hear only the downside of COVID, there have been many pluses as we have seen. I'm sure each one of us has seen. There's a time when we have achieved so much with the help of technology and innovation, and the world itself is seeing a huge change in the way it functions. And for all you know, this might be the way forward. In fact, in our trust, I'm so happy to say that during the past one year, ever since March 23rd of last year, we have been exceptionally busy assisting in COVID relief, creating kits of medicines, masks, sanitizers, food for the communities in Bangalore, including the police departments, forest departments, and even the artisans and the artist communities. Last year, I'm very happy to say that LSN Trust has impacted over 1 lakh families, something that we did not do in normal times. And it's definitely something that COVID has taught us, that people get together to help. I have never seen so much of help before. People have forgotten whatever the differences they may be. And for us, it has been the most productive and rewarding time. So we're looking forward to hear what our speakers have to say. And to start with, I'd like to introduce Dr. Parmesh. He is a senior and an eminent member of the Rotary Club of Bangalore. He has so much to his credit, and it's impossible to capture everything that he has done in this short while. But just a little bit of introduction. He has an MD, FAAP from USA, FIAP, FIAMS, FIAA, FICAAI, FPAI, to his credit. He is a pediatric pulmonologist and an environmentalist, the chairman of Lakeside Education Trust, a distinguished visiting professor for Divecha Center for Climate Change in the Indian Institute of Science, lead for the Future Earth Health-Related Sensitization of South Asia, member editorial board of Current Science, visiting professor at Adi Chuncungiri University and universities in Australia, USA, UK, Italy, Canada, Nepal, member of the WHO NGO Climate Health Working Group in Geneva, national president, ComHAD India for chapter 21-22, and he heads the Indian chapter of Commonwealth Association for Health and Disability, which is headquartered in the UK, and where the patron is none less than the Queen of England. There is so much more that we could talk. In fact, chatting with Dr. Parmesh, he was so many firsts. He was the first to ban smoking in social clubs. He was the first to make sure that firecrackers are no longer burst. So we're having a little bit of peace and quiet. Thank you, Doc. And he's done so much more, which we, time constraints, we can't talk about. So Dr. Parmesh, it's over to you, and let's hear it from you, Doctor. Dr. Parmesh?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yes, Doctor.
Okay. Nalini, thank you very much for a kind introduction. Before I start, I would like to thank the organizer, in particular Vasanta Vaikunt, including Nalini Nanjundaya, Reshma Rajpal, and other members of the Just Talk team. And Nishka is going to be the leader now to show me the road, as a matter of fact. Distinguished faculty members and honorable participants, for every one of you, namaste. Now, I had about a month ago, none other than Rotarian Sri Chandra Rajpal requested me, Parmesh, you have to keep 1 day free for me. Then I said, my gosh, he is 1 day free for what, sir? You have to speak. My daughter-in-law going to contact you, you have to keep that day. Sir, whatever it is, since you are telling, whatever it is, I like to adjust on that day, I will come on that day. But I was thinking about it. He's a great philosopher and a spiritualist. What he's going to talk about the medical science person here, how best I will to do that and how I have to coordinate, I was concerned about it, as a matter of fact. Of course, earlier we thought philosophy, so everything comes after science. Now it is jointly together, they have to go hand in hand, as a matter of fact. Spiritualism and philosophy. Philosophy and spiritualism is a theory, science is a practical. you have to pass the exam. To pass that exam, what kind of pulse you have been here. And here is on that also, just talk, not any nonsense. Just talk in a given time. That is really keeping in mind with facts and figure how best we can able to overcome this coronavirus. What is it pandemic is all about? We are all talking about all the negative thing. What positive thing you have? Do you have a proof? You better prove it to me, show it to me, and how you take it forward. This is what I'm going to talk about in given allotted time of 10 minutes, just to sensitize what is the pandemic is all about. So let's move forward with this word. May I have the first slide, please? My leader is there, Nishka. Yes. Yes. All right. Next slide, please. Okay, now, pandemic. What is pandemic? This is the one I was in charge of the task force. I'm the core committee member of the task force 2009 in H1N1 pandemic at the time. We prepared in the future, any pandemic come, how best we get to manage with the government, the Ministry of Health, Family Well Government of India, and the WHO country office in New Delhi. I was one of the facilitators for this program. Pandemic means it's spread all over. Usually it has got various phases. 1 to 3 phases is animal to animal, animal to more animal, and animal to human being. That is first, second, third phase will come there. Then human to human spread will come there more and more. That is called phase 4. In phase 5 and 6, lot of people all over the world is getting that infection. That is called pandemic. It's not seriousness. Many people contacted this disease. That's what it means, as a matter of fact. So for all these stages, we have a guideline. What has to be done? Who has to be done? What to take? Everything is already been done, as a matter of fact. And after the pandemic is getting over, the waves will come. Waves will come. That is what we call pulse. Pulse is just a wave. It goes up and comes down. As a matter, it has to come down. Which when it goes faster, it will come down faster also. So we expected peak, post-peak recurrences. That's what we call waves. First wave, second wave, third wave, it might come, as a matter of fact. Later on, it becomes regular. Every year it's going to come.
Packet, please.
Hello?
My chocolate packet.
Can I
My
continue?
Secrets.
Excuse me, can we make sure that everybody is muted? We are having Dr. Parmesh present, and it'll be good if everybody keeps themselves muted.
Can I start, madam?
Please
Hello.
talk, doctor.
Okay. Afterwards, this virus, we have to live with the virus. You cannot move away. We have to, every year you got a flu vaccine is coming there in high risk group. Same way, this vaccine is going to come there. We have to take in high risk group. This is what is going to happen. Unfortunately, post-peak, we never realized it's going to be this seriousness, as a matter of fact. That's a different issue. You don't want to go into that issue. Let's move forward. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, now, how does this infection comes? It comes mainly from droplet infection and also from the airborne infection, as a matter of fact. By talking, so you generate the speed of a 5 kilometer per hour speed. That, while talking, you generate about 100 droplets. If you talk loudly, laugh loudly, you can go, it comes a speed about 30 kilometers per hour. Pradeep is not here, as a matter of fact. So you can generate nearly about more than 100 and 200. When you cough, you generate a speed of 750 kilometers per hour. You produce about 1,000 droplets with all the viruses in that one. When you sneeze, the air speed will come at 1,250 kilometers per hour. That produces over lakh of droplets. These droplets will be in the air and we inhale that one. That's how we get the infection. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, now, the bigger the droplets, the virus droplet is only 0.1 micron. And the bacteria is 1 micron. And our hair comes about 100 micron. the RBC is at 5 microns. So if you take that one, these droplet 100 micron side, when a standing person is cough and sneezes, within 10 seconds it drop on the surface. If it's a smaller particle, they will be sustained in the air for about 9 minutes in the closed space. If you spend in a closed space with the group for about 15 minutes, you contact the disease. If you open play space, they'll move around anything like that. Even 5 micron can move up to 100 kilometers, but only they will stay on 9 minutes only. They will dry out and you're going to get the infection, as a matter of fact. Next slide, please. So now, having heard all this thing virus, and because if you get a flu, usual flu, 1% to 2% it will come, infection. H1N1, H1 what it was. But this coronavirus, if 1% gets it, usually 2 to 3 people will get infected. But much worse than measles. If 1% gets one, he'll spread it for 10 people. Chickenpox, 1% gets it for 9 people. So anything, it is nothing to worry about it. If 1% gets it, 2 or 3 people will get it. They suffer 99%, 90%, nothing will happen. Only 10% high risk group, they'll suffer. We have to take care of them, all this thing, whatever it is needed at that time. So during this pandemic time, when there happened lockdown period, negative impact, I don't want to go through all this. The list is there, the global unparalleled. It's a global unparalleled pandemic in a powerful nation made them to come on their knees, as a matter of fact. Phenomenal socio-economic burden is created. We have a financial burden of how much it is. And many of the industries were closed, schools were closed, construction was closed, people are migrated, and the social disturbance we experienced. Stress on agriculture also has been taken care. These are all the negative aspects. We heard too many of them. We don't want. Let us think a positive way, and each one I'm going to give showing proof of. Air quality definitely increased, as a matter of fact. There is decreased greenhouse gases, and you can be able to see the blue sky. There is improved water pollution, decreased waste production, decreased noise pollution. Birds and animals started visiting our cities, as a matter of fact, saying what they belonged to earlier, where they belonged to earlier, and enhanced human kindness. Nalini, I mentioned about it, which you never seen earlier in my lifetime. Remember that prevention is better than cure. We learned it. Earlier we thought curing is the best thing. Prevention is the better thing. We learned as a lesson, as a matter of fact. And there is a change of the economic health policy of our country. We spend about this year, we spend about 137% more for the preventive aspect, for the vaccine and all those things. Enhanced traditional values. Namaste has come back to what it means. You have learned a lot about it. So each one of them, for about a few seconds, I will send it across. Next slide, please. And I think lesson we learned, definitely air pollution has come down. Among all the, so WHO survey showed in 2018, 13 of the most polluted 20 cities in the world are in India. Bangalore had nearly about 450 air quality index at that time. It's one of the severely affected city at that time. During this coronavirus period, the lockdown, HEPAL is all come down. I think 1 to 50 is good, 51 to 100 is satisfactory, 101 to 200 moderate pollution, 201 to 300 poor, 301 to 400 very poor, 400 to 500 severe. Severe has come down to satisfactory level as of April 2020. Again, 19th of June 2021, it has all come down to satisfactory level, good and satisfactory level. This is the air quality has definitely improved. Next slide, please. And if you look at the visibility has increased, greenhouse gas has decreased, as a matter of fact. You look at the India Gate in New Delhi in 1919, you couldn't be able to see it at that time in the morning time. But the same thing in the April 18, 2020, we could be able to see clearly. Next slide, please. And we started seeing people, the snow peaks about 300 kilometers away from Kanchenjunga mountain, from the Darjeeling has been witnessed first time those people in April 2020. Himachal Dauladhar mountain now visible in Jalandhar, 14th April 2020, we could be able to see that. We never able to see earlier, as a matter of fact. Next slide, please. And the water pollution, our own river going around is the Rishbhavati Valley. As a matter of fact, a lot of foam was there. It was 24th of September 2019, it was taken. And now it is in April 6, 2020, water is cleared up with no foam, anything like that. Water also clearing itself. Next slide, please. And noise pollution, along with the air pollution, noise has got a phenomenal ill effect. Many people who don't know about it. A high frequency deafness, newborn is quite common. Prematurity, children born with prematurely with high noise level area, and intrauterine growth failure occurs, so the babies don't gain weight in the mother's womb. And the sleep disturbance, often if a sleep disturbance happens, your healing process will be delayed. Annoyance, headache, decreased work efficiency, poor school performance, all these things related to noise pollution. Noise has also decreased during lockdown period. Next slide, please. And as a matter of fact, there is no noise at that time. As a matter, you can see the bird chirping morning and all that. It was 4 a.m. You could be able to see beautiful birds sleeping. You should have good night's sleep. Good night's sleep is very essential to everybody for healing process. Any virus infection, any air pollution, what you inhale, any damage occurs, healing process happens at night during sleep, because a hormone will be produced only at night time if you have good sleep. That is melatonin, as a matter of fact. Only 2 hormones produced in the night very important for us. One is this healing process hormone, melatonin. Another is the growth hormone. You become taller only at night time in your growing age period. So this is what is going to happen. Good sleep we had, as a matter of fact. Next slide, please. And birds visited all over. And a spotted deer running across the empty street in Dehradun. And peacock in Malaysia and Bangalore, we saw that. I think yesterday only I saw an Indian sign. Peacock came to my window area, as a matter of fact. And elephant spotted walking around the empty streets in the Kerala, in Munnar. And a civet cat has been spotted roaming around the street in the Kozhikode, in the area of in state of Kerala. Next slide, please. And also solid waste also definitely decreased. We produce in the hospital waste 1 kg per bed per day. And in that one, 10 to 15% is the infectious variety, 2% is needle and blood component. In general, 212 data of India shows India produces about 1,26,486 tons per day of the solid waste. I think solid waste, on that time discussing pollution control, they said, sir, last year it reduced about 25 to 50%. And on the 18th of April, 2020, now the hospital waste becoming more and more with the gowns and all this thing, masks and all this thing, becoming more and more, it's like become a major contagious problem. We have to look into that aspect. Next slide, please. And what the lesson we learned from the 10 ideas we have given. Lesson learned during the pandemic need to be pursued, propagated, and practiced based on science to save our planet Earth by the stakeholders who are all involved, and individually what we can do, reduce the carbon footprint. I just want to sensitize you in this context. Next slide, please. I think the stakeholder we have to educate, keeping the health people on the center. 8 majority stakeholders are from the energy, water, sanitation and hygiene, agriculture, transport, land use people, rapid urbanization, and labor and housing industry. All these people has to be educated. From the health center, doctor means what? In the Latin, it means he's a teacher. He's a teacher educating health-related issue. We have to spend time educating all these people on health-related issue, identify. WHO did the same thing on this one, along with the George Mason University. And we are involved, this study has been done. We educated our doctors first, environmental issues, and it's been published in Lancet last month, as a matter of fact. In WHO, in the workshop kit, communication kit, our statement has been done. India, the first professional body participated in that one. Our statement has done along with our leaders of our association. I have written like this: 98% Indian Academy Pediatrics members are aware that climate change is occurring, and we are inspired by our traditional ethos of living in harmony with the environment. These survey results reinforce that medical professionals must be taught about climate change in integrated, comprehensive, holistic way. Each country, 12 countries has written. This is the Indian statement has come there. So these issues, we have to educate each one of them, as a matter of fact. And that way I'm very happy just talk people educating these issues and taking care of our future. I'm very thankful for that one. Next slide, please. Another 2 or 3 slides, that's all. Next slide. Next slide, please. Okay. I think three important things, how to reduce the pollution. This is participant for everybody, stakeholder, we have to educate, and the policy maker. Reduce the pollution at source. We have enough pollution already. We produce 3 times more than the nature can able to tackle it. Nature can tackle up the greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, about 3 to 4 billion liter tons per year. We are producing about 9 to 10 tons per year, as a matter of fact. Reduce the pollutant at source, regulate the automobiles, new energy, reduce the fossil fuel. 95% is from the fossil fuel. We have to aim at that. Eliminate the existing pollution, what is existent. So reducing the temperature so that you don't go more than 2 degrees. We are in the crisis stage. We are in crisis stage. If the temperature goes more than 2, irreversible damage is going to happen. And then if you go to 5 degrees centigrade, no living body will be existent in this earth, as a matter of fact. So by end of this century, we have to work on that one. Increase the greenery, each one teach one, plant one tree. Ocean agriculture, we can think about it, it's possible. And sustainable cities has to be maintained, reduce the population growth. And also we have take the gas, convert into stone, there is technology available, you should utilize it. And protect the people who have been affected to increase the quality of life and stressful situation, we have to help them out. Use the traditional food habit is good enough for us. Good ventilated house built on Vedic mathematics, Vastu is good for us. And also safety control medicine to be used, research to our need. Think locally, act locally, propagate globally. This is what earlier we said, think globally, act locally. No, the other way we have to do it. Next slide, please. Politicians, we have to educate them how best they could save the money. As a matter, some study has been done in UK, has been published only last December, that UK saved about nearly 2.1 billion pounds by saving greeneries and park, and in urban area, plaza, green, all these things, parks and all these things, they saved that much. I think we can save, if you spend 1 rupee for the parks and all this thing, you can save 34 rupees per year from the health related expenditure. So now what you can do, what you can do, you can reduce the carbon dioxide individually. Is the last but one slide. So what happens, each one of us, we are putting right now about 4 tons of 4 tons of carbon dioxide per person per year. America is the highest producer. It produces 16 tons per person per year. So to keep the temperature less than 2 degrees by end of the century, we have to keep the temperature of 2 tons. What individual we can do it? If you don't use the car at all, you can save 2.04 ton per year. Battery electric car, if you start using it, you can save the carbon footprint by 1.95 times. If you avoid long distance hauling travel, you can say you produce nearly about 90 kg of carbon dioxide if you travel 1 hour flight. If you say from Delhi to London, 1 ton carbon dioxide is produced per person per flight. So we have to reduce one long haul flight, as a matter of fact. Renewable energy, instead of fossil fuel, think of the air, water, and other source of energy, solar heating and all this thing. And that saves about 1.6 ton per year per person. Public transport use more often, you can save 0.98 tons of carbon footprint yourself. Refurbish the renovation of the house, build our houses near to the good sunlight has to come in, and build, and also the chimney has to be there, and sunlight has to come. This is based on the Vastu. If you build our houses on Vastu, you can save our carbon footprint 0.895 ton per year. And vegan diet, I think if you have vegan food, 1 kg of vegan food, you produce 1 kg of carbon dioxide. Non-vegetarian produces 5 to 35 kg per kg of meat. Red meat, beef is the one highest, 35 kg per kg of meat it produces. So preferably, whatever, I don't want to interfere anything like that. Fish is good, as a matter of omega-3 fatty acids is there. Eggs are good, and lean meat is good enough, as a matter of fact. Anyway, your diet adhered to a predominantly vegetarian diet would help a great deal. Heat pumps, as a matter of fact, using the other new, not the old bulb, new bulbs as current, we have to use those things. Improvement cooking, heating. When you're cooking, if the yellow light comes, yellow flame, that means your cooking area is not clean. Food droplet has been getting burnt. That means energy is wasted too much. And if a blue flame comes, it means you are saving. That way we can save that 1.65 by improving it. And the fridge, make sure the frosting happens in the fridge and all those things. Renewable-based heating system, that we have to do it when 0.64 tons it will save per each one of us. Next slide, please. I think this is the last one. Next slide. I think the indoor pollution is one of the major issues. As a matter of fact, no doubt, thanks to our Prime Minister, using the gas cylinders have been propagated. Indoor air pollution has come down as of 2016, nearly about 64%. Outdoor air pollution increased 115% as of December 2020, produced in Lancet from the Indian Medical Council, as a matter of fact. These are all the best plants to give more oxygen, absorb more carbon dioxide in your house, as a matter. Bamboo is good. 28 times more oxygen it gives, 28 times more carbon dioxide absorbed. Tulsi, it needs more heat and sunlight. It has to be near the window, you have to do that. It not only absorbs indoor pollution from the carpet and various volatile organic compounds, along with carbon monoxide it absorbs, so sulfur dioxide and other nitrous oxide it absorbs, Tulsi. And also it got a chemical called steroid. It helps in healing process, as a matter of fact. And also areca palm, so spider plant, peace lily, anthurium, what we call, aloe vera, money plant, snake plant, gerbera. These are all the best plants to keep inside the house. They're best natural way of air filters, as a matter of fact, air cleaners. And make sure you export sunlight once a week. Make sure the clean of water, remove the tray of water once a week so the mosquito don't breed. And also one of the tree, you can remember, every village has got early katte. We have to call that is a sleeping place, a lazy place. As a matter of fact, early leaves gives the oxygen 24 hours around the clock. That's one tree gives 24 around the clock. And because most of the plant gives when there is a photosynthesis happens during the sunlight, plus this tree gives that one. I think every village has got that one, where people can sleep, peaceful sleep will be there under their tree, as a matter of fact. So next slide, please. Ladies and gentlemen, a healthy breath will always bring healthy life. Let each one, teach one, plant one tree and maintain it. So one tree, full-blown tree in your front of your house, gives you free oxygen for about 4 people. As a matter, we will overcome the air pollution, global warming, climate change in the allotted time frame with the commit from all the stakeholders. Thank you very much for your patient hearing. If I take a little extra time, I'm apology for that.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Doctor. That was wonderful. And your information, I mean, first of all, I have to say that you're a pulmonologist, but also an environmentalist. So we could hear a lot. And also you took the pulse of the pandemic to the positive note. Thank you very much for that. And your information on pulse and the waves was very optimistic. However, the panic level and the transmission fear is very alarming. And also your information on size of the droplets. That was quite informative for a lay person like me. And but still, you're a pulmonologist. You can't escape this question. So that is like, more than the COVID itself. There are many unknown complications in post-COVID. So especially the one that is called the D dimer, which is being talked about. And the normal average person like me will not even know what the D dimer is, but there is much talk about it. And the D dimer level that indicates clots in the body is very confusing. Will blood thinner really work, or it has other complications?
I think it's a good question, very good question. As a matter of fact, this virus is thrombogenic and inflammatory contagious viral disease. As a matter of fact, is thrombogenic, immunogenic, contagious viral disease. As a matter of fact, this is a fact. As a matter of fact, D dimer tells the incidence of clotting is much higher. As a matter of fact, And as instead of that, the pollution itself, 2.5 micron, when they cross the lungs to the bloodstream, they themselves produce clots. In the placenta, there are too many clots. That's why children born 50 meters from the highway, they have clots in the placenta. They have still a lot of stillbirth, 30% of premature death. And another rest of the person is small for dead babies. Even the mother carried full 9 months, they have a premature death. Naturally, air pollution particle is causing, this also has got the same, like a suspended particle, 2.1 micron. It has a clot, the clotting factor is there in mud. Wherever the clot happens, that organ don't receive, and naturally it is going to die, suffer and die as a matter of fact. This does happen, and using the thing, as a matter of fact, in USA, they said after 40 years, each one of you has to take 75 milligram of salicylate.
Yes, I heard that.
Yes.
Yeah.
That has been practiced as a matter of fact all over the world. From the yoga, it's from the yoga guru only started. He is a pulmonologist in California, he practices. And they have been doing it as a matter of fact. I have been taking 75 milligram for the past nearly 20 years, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, so that's good news.
That has to be given, as a matter of fact.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Yeah. Reshma, I request you to ask a question. You wanted to ask him.
Yes, yes. Hello, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, actually, even I want to ask you about COVID only. We are actually post-COVID care. We are almost at the end of second wave, and we still don't know the after care of post-COVID problems. So what is your advice, doctor?
Advice, as a matter of fact, what your doctor has prescribed, the same advice you take it. Hand washing, face mask, and distancing is a must. Even if you take the vaccine is a must. You have to all the other people, you want to educate 30% of the population. It takes the end of this year. To immunize the about 70%, that's where we need the herd immunity. It takes until next year end. This takes this long period. Number is there. Vaccine is not available that much. Take the vaccine and maintain the social hygiene and all these things. And don't worry, have a traditional food habits. What you are cooking, that's good enough as a matter of fact. And with all precaution, I don't think anything to worry at all, as a matter of fact. Get going, as a matter of fact.
Okay, and what about COVID care, doctor? Suppose somebody has got COVID.
Yeah, COVID care means what happens after that, if you have, usually up to 3 months, even longer period of time. Some people have inflammatory phenomena, this allergic phenomena, it goes that one. So usually any virus infection, usually it takes 3 weeks. This has if the allergy anything, it takes 3 to 6 weeks. This, some people have got any extra up to 3 months. Don't do any strenuous exercise. That's what it said. We don't know. Every day we are learning, as a matter of fact. We still don't know. Every day things are changing, as a matter of fact. So I think up till 3 months, don't do any strenuous exercise. Only walking around and all this thing, good enough. You need nearly 15 minutes regular exercise in a day, walk around. That's good enough. That's what WHO recommends. 15 minutes is enough for you. Children have to have 1 hour.
Okay. No, there is actually, there's a question from Meenakshi Karnath asking about the risk of a relapse of high among the survivors is what we read. So having a child who acquired the pandemic, the threat of a relapse is alarming among them, considering the lack of vaccines. So can you please throw some light on this, doctor?
Yes, it's not from the lack of vaccine. As a matter of fact, what happens when you get the infection, usually within 2 weeks, within 5 days, the antibody production reaches its peak by 2 weeks. So then there are memory cells, they remember keeping it. That the circulating antibody may not be there, but memory cells will always remember. Second time when you get that, immediately attacks and kills the immunological reaction, as a matter of fact. I think if the dose comes there, your defense system is developed, your dose of getting infection is much more. You can get the second wave, but you don't suffer that much. You won't suffer much more. You don't have to go to ICU and anything like that. I think they'll get better. Most of them will get better. Nothing to worry about it.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate. Nalini, please, over to you.
I have a question for you, doctor.
Yes,
so there is keeping in with this. See, everybody has now started taking the vaccine very seriously, and they are all getting vaccinated. And
Yeah.
there is this feeling that now that they're opening up, that, just because you're vaccinated, you're not going to get COVID. And I hear that people are getting COVID in spite of both the doses. Now, what is your advice? Even you have to go out for work, you have to go out for people, meeting others, not necessarily socially, but on work. What do you suggest? I mean, one is the vaccine. After that, what do you suggest is the right thing to
I
do?
think the first vaccine, the studies have shown you have a protection up to 30%. Second vaccine, you have nearly about 90-95% protection. Still about 5% chance getting that infection, as a matter of fact. If the dose is more of the infection, your protection level only 95%, you have a chance of getting, but seriousness of the disease is not there, and ICU admission may not be needed. That's all it means. No vaccine gives 100% protection. There's no way. It's a fact.
And do you suggest that people are moving around with their masks and everything? Is that
It's a must. It is a must. Unless you have enough distance, arm distance, you have to have mask, as a matter of fact.
okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I request Nalini to introduce Mr. Ram Seshu,
Yes, I'm
please.
just doing that now. Thank you, Vasanta.
Yeah.
That was great, Dr. Parmesh. Thank you so much, because we had a lot of insight on this. Now I take great pleasure in introducing yet another friend and fellow Rotarian, Mr. Ram Seshu. Ram Seshu is the author of I Am a Winner program that impacted 1 lakh plus students in government schools in rural and semi-urban areas. He has been co-chairperson as ASSOCHAM, Karnataka Council, past chairman, HR Skills and Education Committee, FKCCI, past president, Rotary Club Bangalore, has held several senior posts in the District 3190 of Rotary. He has been bestowed with the Sir M. Vishweshwaraya Award for contribution to productivity enhancement in manufacturing industries, past president of the Advertising Club Hyderabad, awardee of the Distinguished Service Award for contributions beyond the call of duty, and past member of the National Executive of Roundtable India. In 2001, he and his team wrote the Born to Win process, and he is now completely driven towards building a generation of winners. Ram, as I mentioned earlier, is the author of Born to Win process, which is based on the learnings of the Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads. The program has impacted over 1 lakh entrepreneurs and corporate executives. For 40 years, he has implemented the philosophy of I can, you can, and together we can. He is now working to help empower and create 1 million enlightened entrepreneurs through his signature program, Enough is Enough. Dimag ki batti jalao. Take charge of your life. With this, I invite Ram Seshu to please address us on the positives of COVID.
First of all, namaskara. Thank you very much. And a huge shout out to Vasanta, who I met recently. Lots of admiration for what you do. Reshma, thank you for pursuing and making sure that I'm here. Sydney, Nalini, Nishka, all of you there at Just Speak. It's indeed a great honor and a pleasure to be here. And listening to Dr. Parmesh, the first time I listened to him was in 2003. And I can never ever get enough of Dr. Parmesh. I mean, when he talks, you feel like spending the whole evening just listening to him, because every word that he says is so insightful. So Dr. Parmesh, thank you very much. Great learning as always, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, you all must have heard of the VUCA world, okay? Now, the VUCA world was something that was coined by the American Army to talk about the Cold War between Russia and the United States and China and whatever. Now, the VUCA got slowly transformed, okay, from volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. the world slowly started hurtling into something which was violent, which was unnecessary, which was very competitive, and added to that, very angry. By the time the pandemic hit us in 2019, and we realized what is happening by, I think, February, March 2020, we were already in a world that was completely upside down. It wasn't the world that really we were born into. It wasn't that nice, happy world. Very violent. You open any newspaper, you look at any television channel, you hear about anything, and there's a lot of violence, there's a lot of angst, there's a lot of uncertainty. There's it's crazy. It's very competitive, and that was the kind of world that this particular pandemic hit us. So as a race, and whatever Dr. Parmesh mentioned a little earlier, as a race, I think we were ripe targets. I come from a marketing background, and therefore we were a ripe target. It's like, we were waiting to be hit by something like this. And, Dr. Parmesh and Arjun, my friend, will later on tell us whether this is man-made, not man-made. All that is okay. It doesn't matter. But let's look at what was characterized in our life. The chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita, especially verse number 63, talks about those 3 deadly sins, and the Bhagavatam goes on to expound it to 6. This world was full of kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. And that was the world where, it was uncontrolled desire. Desire is not bad. You need to have that desire. You need to move up in life. And all of us, I think, in this room today are privileged that we've worked hard, and by sheer dint of our hard work have reached where we have reached and have achieved what we've achieved. And I think that's terrific. But this uncontrolled desire that became a hallmark of our society. And this went on to become, when desire gets unsatiated, it becomes anger, it becomes krodha. And when krodha comes in, when anger comes in, your mind gets deluded. And that's the time when you start getting, when you get into lobha, which means I am going to go and get anything. You get into greed, saying, I will achieve whatever I want to achieve in my life. And then you've got those other 3 great friends waiting to enter your life. Moha, mada, matsarya. And when you get into that situation of moha, which is delusion, where your entire world is deluded, where your mind is crowded, and you start thinking that this is life, and you're a sitting target for mother, which is nothing but, pride, that this is what I've got. And along comes jealousy, matsarya. We were a sitting target. We were a sitting duck, waiting for this pandemic to happen. And like Dr. Parmesh said, the birds flew away, the animals just went back, retreated into the forest. You couldn't see a blue sky in Bangalore. I mean, when I came to Bangalore in 2001, and when I would walk in Lal Bagh in 2001, the skies were so beautiful and blue. And I'd come from Bombay and I'd say, how beautiful is this place? And by 2019, 2020, it was a rare day when in Bangalore you could see a blue sky. You couldn't see sparrows. They just disappeared. And this is the world that was there for us. And therefore, I say we were sitting ducks. We were waiting for this pandemic. It is as if, all the ingredients were put together, and it just needed the master chef to light that fire and whip up this amazing dish. For the first time in the history of mankind, in the known history of mankind, there was a collective pause button that was hit. Normally in life, whenever there is a pause button that is hit, there could be a flood somewhere, there is an earthquake somewhere, there's a fire somewhere, there's some natural disaster somewhere. And there's a pause button that is hit in one part of the world. And you're sitting down in your television, in front of your television, in front of your, and watching it in your drawing room, in the comfort of your drawing room, sipping your favorite beverage in the evening, clinking your glasses and saying, oh my God, what a pity, this is happening in Iraq, or this is happening in Nasik, or this is happening in Bengal, or this is happening in Bihar. Now let's do one thing, guys. I mean, all right, somebody is saying, can you give $1,000? Can you give 5,000? It's not in my house. It's only on my television. This is not happening to me, right? And suddenly for this whole world, there was this pause button that was hit saying, hey, 1 minute, guys, where are you headed? And in many ways, when I was talking to Vasanta, I said, Vasanta, I think to humanity, maybe it's time for us to call this the Karuna virus. Because somewhere, as Dr. Paramesh mentioned, we had a whole different dimension that came into our lives. And it was not out of choice. We didn't have a choice. We were locked up at homes. We were forced to spend time at home. You were forced to spend time with yourself. And it was this rebooting of our lives that we got a chance, whether it's the first wave or the second wave. Now, fact of life is that all of us have lost incomes. There are people who have become, the poor have become just poorer. Misery is all across. There is no doubt about all of that. But I think, I love this particular subject, and I really, really appreciate the people who curated saying that, what are the positive pulses that we can take from this pandemic, because we need to move on in life. Yes, there has been a lot of misery. And especially the second wave has shown that not a single one of us is unaffected. We've lost a friend, we've lost a brother, we've lost a sister, some of us have lost a spouse. And it's indeed really, really sad. But it's time for us to reboot our lives. And here is where we need to go back. And I think Vasanta will resonate with what I'm saying now. We need to go back to Sri Krishna's advice to us in the Bhagavad Gita. When in chapter 2, in verse 34 or 35, he talks about this whole concept of Swadharma. And he says that, look, it is better to pursue your own ideal of greatness. Don't, for God's sake, keep pursuing somebody else's ideal of greatness. Go back to your own idea of greatness. However deficient it is, however, incomplete it is, it doesn't matter. It is yours. Pursue that. Keep that, work on your Swadharma. And what is Swadharma? Swadharma is very simple according to me. You go and do what makes you unhappy, what makes you happy without making anybody in the world unhappy. Go and do what makes you happy without making a single person in the world unhappy. If you can do that, you're pursuing your Swadharma. If there is somehow that I can live a life according to those age-old principles of honesty, of integrity, of, making sure that I'm helping people, you're pursuing your Swadharma. And I think it's a great thing that we've got, that we're coming back and saying, guys, reboot your life. But this time around, don't fritter away this opportunity. And, the lockdown has been lifted, especially for those of us who are in Bangalore. It's being lifted in a phased manner across some of the cities across the world. But it doesn't mean to say that we've got to go back to what we were doing. This is not like a computer program, that you start off from where you left off. This is your life. Take charge of it. And therefore, I have seen, for instance, in the last 1.5 years of working with my customers across the world, I've seen some very interesting trends. And, with your permission, I'd just like to share with you. Unfortunately, these are early trends. And unlike Dr. Paramesh, who had a lot of hard facts, these are trends. And, these are things that we are researching right now, me and my company. And hopefully in the next 3 to 4 months, 5 months, we'll have some amount of data to actually show what's happening. The first interesting trend when you want to pursue your Swadharma and reboot your life is this whole concept of me time. What started off as something that was forced on us is now something that we are beginning to appreciate and live with. So can we, I've had so many people who turn around earlier and tell, I'm bored, I'm bored, I'm bored, I'm bored of life. And I'm turning around saying, how can you be bored of yourself? You're your best friend. Imagine if you're bored of yourself, how, bored the world would be with you. Yeah. So this whole concept of me time, whether it is 10 minutes a day, whether it is 15 minutes a day, and we've been talking about this to so many of our people saying that, look, can you take half an hour and just spend time with yourself? Do nothing, just sit down, look outside the window, enjoy the view, whatever be your view. Think that it's the best view in the world, but start spending some time. A lot of people have been doing this me time exercises now, and that's fantastic. Whether you're doing yoga, whether you're walking, whether you're listening to music, but you're just with yourself. I think it's a great thing that's happening. The second interesting thing that has happened in the pandemic, which is again a very positive thing, and I'm saying let's continue with it, is this whole business of being in touch with the family. Thanks to technology today, we are in touch with the entire family, thanks to WhatsApp, thanks to Zoom, thanks to various other platforms. We are now in touch with the family, even if not physically, at least we're in touch with them mentally. And we are talking, we're having conversations with people in the family. And I think that's another great thing. It doesn't really matter where your brother is or your sister is. It's time to give up all those old, niggles and those grudges and those little hurts and, forget all of that and say, listen, yaar, at the end of the day, you're my brother, you're my sister. Let's get on. You're my son, you're my daughter. Let's just get on. I think that's another very interesting thing that's happening during this time when we are trying to reboot our life. The third issue is this, that no matter what journey you are on in your life, I think the sahyogis that you get on that journey make that journey so much more interesting. And again, we are seeing something interesting. The friends that you have, the people that you bond with are becoming so very important in life. Make time for them. Reconnect with, I'm seeing so many people who tell me now that they're reconnecting with their classmates of 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, schoolmates, people that they stayed in the same colony with, and that's a fabulous bond that is coming up again because we've got the time. And we're rediscovering friendships, people who we've lost touch with thanks to this hurly-burly life that we were leading. And I think that's another great thing that has happened thanks to this pandemic. That we're getting back, we're having fun. There is nothing like an old school friend, because the kind of honesty that you can have with that person is an honesty that you can never have with anybody else in life. And they can talk nonsense with you and you can talk nonsense with them, and everything is completely accepted. I think we need to get that back. The other thing that I'm seeing really right now is to cut down on consumption. I think we've realized one very, very important fact. As Dr. Paramesh was saying, eat home food. I think we are discovering now that we don't really need everything. The other day, a friend of mine sent a wonderful message to me saying that, the new corporate attire is going to be a jacket like this with shorts or boxers underneath. And I think that's a fantastic thing that is happening, that we are really, really cutting down on consumption, physically, mentally, spiritually. And I think that's a great thing, because that's a great way to get back to health. The next thing that I'm seeing really is this, that people have started journeying within. And whatever it is that makes you happy, whether it is an old hobby, whether it's an old passion, whether you want to start cooking, whether you want to do gardening, whether you want to sing, whether you want to express yourself in any which way, I think that's a great thing that has happened during this pandemic. And we are seeing a lot of interest. The other day, I was talking to someone who was saying that, I love to cook. And the fact that this person is able to express himself by whipping up some amazing dishes, not only for himself, for his family, but for his neighbors, is a fantastic thing that is happening. And finally, like what Nalini was mentioning some time back about the work that the LSN Trust is doing, is to do good to the world. there is one person somewhere who needs you. And whether it is just lending a ear to hear that, hear the woes of that person, or it is the ability to do something to help that person, to help put a smile back on somebody's face. I think one great thing that has happened in this pandemic is that we've got out of this checkbook charity where, I thought just to do good, what do I need to do? I just need to cut out a check and give it to Nalini or to the Rotary Club and say, you go and do something. But now I'm finding more and more and more people are doing good to help that one person, that, the 2 people or 3 people, or 4 people, or 5 people, or something like this, of doing good to the world. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we reboot our lives, pursuing our Swadharma, here are the 6 things. 1, me time. 2, family ties. 3, connecting back with those friends, making sure that those journeys that you're on are extremely enjoyable. 4, finding and seeking that happiness within, reconnecting with yourself, what makes you truly, truly happy. 5, cutting down consciously on your consumption. And most important, doing good to that just one person in the world. It doesn't really matter who it is. If we were to do this, I think we've learned some very valuable lessons from the pandemic. And I think, what I started off by saying that this is perhaps the coronavirus that has happened to us. In many ways, it is this opportunity that we've all got. And I do hope that even if we do unlock, and even if we are allowed to go back to what we were doing, we don't lose this opportunity to keep these learnings intact. Thank you very much. Nalini, back to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ram Kumar Seshu. That was very enlightening. And I connect with that very much because I do my satsangs on Bhagavad Gita every morning to my students. And that was a great takeaway for people here. And I think when talking about Swadharma, it's better to be courteous to yourself and be nice to yourself. Then that will give you an opportunity to love others. Because when I'm not nice to myself, I cannot be nice to others. Brilliant. Thank you so, so much. I invite Srini Mysore to ask a question, please.
Yeah. Hello, Ram.
Hi, Srini.
So, Ram, I think my question you covered quite a bit in your talk, but I'm still going to ask you. So, how has the family relationship taken the pandemic impact? Please, can you give us a few positive and the negative views? So staying together all the time also have created some negativity, and the happy moments of staying together has given some positivity. Can you enlighten a little more on this, please?
So, Srini, the root cause of any conflict in life, the root cause, it can be any kind of a conflict. It can be between any 2 people, are the unstated expectations that we have. That's the root cause of all problems in life. Okay, any disagreement, any unhappiness, any kitch, okay, is rooted in those unstated expectations, the implicit expectations, as we call it. One example that I can share with you is the fact that wherever customers of mine, wherever clients of ours have gone that extra step and made it stated, they have realized that life is that much better. Okay. Now, whether it is between a father and daughter, whether it is between a son and the mother, whether it is about, if it is a school-going child, about, what are the kind of hours that you need to be studying, how much is free time, okay? All of these, if you can state it down, people are really, really enjoying, what they're doing. Very tempting, right? You're at home the whole day, it's party time, it's a holiday, and therefore, you can splurge, you can eat whatever you feel like, you can walk the whole day. But then if you don't state it very explicitly, saying that, here are certain boundaries that we're going to be operating under. Okay. If you do, then there's no conflict. If you don't, then there is a conflict. Okay. Even people, being at home all the time, trying to face each other, not having that social interaction that you had earlier. But then you need to state it out. You need to put it out there. And if you can state those expectations, then I think you're doing very well.
Thank you, Mr. Ram. But now our next speaker is Dr. Arjun. Over to you, Nalini. Please give him an introduction.
Yeah, but just before I start my introduction of Arjun, I have one question for Ram Seshu. Ram, can you quickly tell us about, see, you have suddenly done this study of Bhagavad Gita and transcribed it to everyday living. Briefly, can you say that has that impacted the life of people? I mean, I know you've done Born to Living, I've Born to Win. I have been a part of that program way back with you. Do you say that this has also impacted people?
Absolutely. Absolutely,
Yeah.
Nalini, 100%. There's no doubt about that. And I'll tell you why. Somewhere deep within us, there is a huge mooring in philosophy. The kind of values that we live with are values that are deep rooted within us. Okay. Again, I think Vasanta will possibly resonate chapter 16 when Krishna talks about the qualities, the good divine qualities that he talks about. Very interestingly, Nalini, the first one that he talks about is fearlessness. Okay, that you need to be completely fearless in what you do. And then he ends that with humility. So the point is that look at that beautiful interplay. So whenever we've gone and talked to people in the corporate world or to entrepreneurs, and we've said, look, you need to be fearless, don't have any fear. What is the worst thing that can happen? You'll fall. That's okay, big deal. Falling is not failing, it's just fall. You just have to get up and start walking again. And you need to have the humility that wherever you reach in life, whoever you become in life, you can never believe that if you stand in the middle of the road, your sun will fall, the shadow of yours will fall on the sun. You can never believe that. So, I mean, these are learnings that we share with people, and they're so much wiser and better for it. Nalini?
Thank you, Ram. That was very good. And with this, I'd like to now introduce yet another Rotarian, Dr. Arjun Srivatsa. So Arjun is one of the most charming Rotarians of the Rotary Club of Bangalore. You would think that doctors have no time to do anything except work. But Arjun has time for a lot of other things. He's an avid golfer. He enjoys parties, has a lot of time for extracurricular activities. Sorry, affairs is the wrong word, as singing, cooking, traveling, etc. Arjun started his practice in the Lakeside Hospital under the leadership of Dr. Parmesh. He later joined Columbia Asia Hospital as a neurosurgeon. He has presented 15 papers internationally, a hands-on teacher for new techniques spinal surgery in India and abroad, a most wanted neurosurgeon for Jehovah surgeries. In 2012, he started designing, building, and implementing of a world-class hospital under the banner of the Kirloskar and the Toyota Group, which is now the fully owned Japanese Sakra Hospital. Being a transplant patient himself, you'll be happy to know that he got a gold medal during the World Transplant Games in England in the year 2019. And with that, it's over to you, Arjun.
Thank you, Nalini. Thank you for the introduction. Vasanta, thank you for inviting me to speak today. After the pulmonologist and Mr. Ram have spoken, I think my time got cut by 5 minutes straight away, because quite a lot of it is common in what they spoke and what I had actually thought I'd speak about. But having said that, I think the PPP, positive pulse of the pandemic, definitely still has things to be said about from the medical side, which I see every day. Although I'm a transplant patient, I have been working in the last 2 years in the hospital. And God's grace, I've been safe, and I'm sure it'll continue that way. It comes to, when talking about the pandemic, there's a movie song, the line comes from my mind. It says, "Jab life hai out of control, hontong ko kar le gol, city mein jaake bolo, all is well." I think those whistles are not for Corona to be driven away, they're to drive away our blues. That's why we want to whistle. All that we see on media, WhatsApp, university is all about killing, the business being killed, people being killed, black market getting bad, and leaving us a lot frustrated. We won't discuss all that here. There is a silver lining to the cloud, and we will try and see how we can roast that here right now. And hopefully by the end of the evening, we'll go a little happier. And don't forget, we are the lucky ones sitting here and talking and listening to all this. I'm not a pulmonologist. I'm a brain surgeon. So why I'm here, I don't have facts, I don't have trends. But yes, I meet people every day in the hospital. I meet people who come to me with a lot of issues, thinking that as a brain surgeon, I can solve them, which of course is not possible. Having said that, I would like to just touch upon a few things that I think has changed in the positive way after the pandemic started. Like Ram said, the me time, the rebooting time, actually it has played a big part in not just the emotional part of life, also the medical. There has been a greater awareness among what one can do with oneself, mind and body, and that has created newer ways of looking at life. I'm not talking about bonding with your wife, bonding with your son. No, I'm not talking about it. It's just talking about self-realization. We all went through it. I have to say I went through it too. Nalini spoke about my cooking and singing. Well, I didn't do all that much earlier. I did it last 2 years. I didn't know I could do all that. So that's a self-realization that I think that a lot of us have gone through. And this me time has given us that time. It has helped us away from our packed schedules to do something which you really thought you couldn't do earlier, we could do now. So that was a great thing. And we could do more without stress. So less stress, no traveling, so no stress of traveling. And that gave us time for what we wanted to do. How did this impact health? Straight away, it's directly proportional to it. You have more time for yourself, your health is better. You work out more, you have better health. The fitness that you did helped you. The home remedies for Corona, all the kashayams and everything, actually helped your immunity. You didn't have to take tablets after that. The home treatments from your grandmother's book came in big time at this time. And believe me, it changed how people looked at health. It became a more holistic way of looking at health. It was not anymore about allopathy or homeopathy or Ayurvedic. It became more holistic, including yoga and walking when they could. That also changed how we looked at healthcare. Suddenly, there were no patients in the hospital. I hardly saw any patients in the hospital. The 8 months that the pandemic came in, it became more online consults. The technology companies started giving us more stuff to look at patients remotely and use technology to be more accurate in what we could do from remotely. So that was a big thing that happened in the medical field thanks to pandemic. The technology changed. We could do wearing wearable devices, monitor patients at home. We don't have to actually see them personally. We could see heart rate, we could see blood pressure being sent live to us on our phones, and anything was showing a red flag, ship them to the hospital. That was a big change in how we do healthcare. Of course, there was a lot of problems in hospitals because of increased costs, and the thought of going to a hospital came down. So that automatically reduced the hospital visits, which also I think is a positive pulse for a patient, although it's less revenue for us, but that doesn't matter. The important thing is about the health of the community and the world. I am a neurosurgeon, so most of us have business in trauma, people having head injuries and spine injuries. And in the last 1 year, I think I have seen the total number of patients I've seen, probably equal to about 6 months of surgeries we used to do prior to the pandemic. I guess less people on the road, less buildings being made because of migrant workers leaving the city, all that helped. And that's, I think, a good thing. When people start understanding that it actually makes sense that if you're careful on the roads, you won't be in trouble. Again, bad for us neurosurgeons, but it's okay. We will take that. It's not a problem for us as long as people understand that you stay home or drive carefully, you could be safe. The other changes, I think positive, is how business was being done afterwards. Everybody had to stay home, and suddenly home businesses cropped up. They were losing jobs, yes, but they were creating new jobs themselves. People started going home to their hometowns to spend time because they couldn't stay in cities here, which is expensive. But they went back home and found they could spend more time with their families and yet work, thanks to technology again. Zoom and Google Meet and whatever has changed how people do work. I could never think I'll be addressing 100 people. Talking to 100 people and from my desktop, which is nobody heard of it. Productivity increased. I have friends whom I play golf with who are all honchos of big companies, and they're saying, you know, Doc, my productivity of my team has increased. They all stay home. They don't come to work. I save money on my rentals I pay for in these massive structures of buildings that are there. And I have less people having psychiatric issues at office work. People have less back issues, going to doctors every now and then. They're very happy being at home. And that some of them have made policies to not go back to work, be home, stay home and work from home for the next 2 years. The employment in the younger population has increased also, people who are not well educated. Now, with all the tech companies coming up with apps that can deliver home food, deliver documents, deliver clothes, deliver medicines. Who's going to deliver these medicines? Who's going to deliver the clothes? It was guys who were actually got jobs, and suddenly they have all jobs. Let's not just look at the poor people losing money or people being let go because of no income, and the restaurants are being closed and bars are being closed. People aren't able to pay rents. But this other side of the group, which are actually having more jobs now, thanks to how business is being done. Education has changed everything again. It's all online, and that has also improved how children don't have to be exposed to the environmental factors like what Parmesh spoke about, which is a big thing actually. The amount of cases of chest diseases has come down in children, and I think even my pediatric friends hardly see any patients with these kind of problems, with colds and coughs. The last point I have is what Nalini said. As a country, we have actually recovered. We work under one blanket now, which was not there earlier. Even the politicians did not bring us together. But pandemic has brought us together. We have people giving water to migrant crowd. They're giving food to the people who need food because they can't work here. They're sending stuff across the country, helping them across the country, making sure that somehow everybody lives. That's how this country works, I think. In spite of whatever we go through, finally, we still manage to survive. And that, I think, is a very positive part of India. Hats off to all the frontline workers. I can't say I'm a frontline worker. I am a neurosurgeon who works in hospitals, but I'm not a frontline worker. But I'm there to support my colleagues who are there in frontline. Hats off to them. Hats off to other civic authorities also who have tried to do their best and managed to make lives more comfortable. And that, I think, is a positive pulse also of the pandemic, that we have all come together to fight this disease, not as a government or as anybody, but as people of this country, people of the world are coming together. And that's what I think is a big takeaway for us, that on this positive pulse of the pandemic. Before I close, I must say, please vaccinate yourself. As the first transplant patient to get vaccinated. If I can get vaccinated, believe me, you all can get vaccinated. And don't listen to the myths or the stories on the net, which is all wrong. They only talk about what happened. In 1 in a crore people, 2 people had a heart attack. He may have had a heart attack just like that for some other reason, and they blame the vaccine for that. So get vaccinated, continue wearing a mask, very important. And of course, washing hands is something I think Indians are used to anyway of doing. Thank you very much again. And
thank you so much, Dr. Arjun. That was wonderful. And brain surgeons have always intrigued me. Very happy to meet you and just speak. And technology, of course, has changed everything. And we are able to be here today only because of that. But just one question, like how to fight the COVID stigma? Because I think it has impacted human mind quite a bit. And people don't want to talk about it to the extent one recovered patient felt so ashamed that his karmas are so bad that God punished him. So, you can understand the kind of mental state that patient must have been.
Yes, you're right. Especially when the first wave hit, it was a very sad situation to see. I had a lot of patients who had these issues because their families, they couldn't even see them when they were being buried or cremated. The reason being the stigma was that if they got to know that they had the COVID, then even they would be ostracized from their buildings or from their, which again, I think now has changed. The myth has now changed because people have understood how it works. It is not contagious. It is only, it moves in one particular way, either through droplets or to sneezing. And if that's taken care of, we won't get it. We're not untouchables. They're not HIV patients. They are just regular people who have an infection which can spread to the air. Take care of that. Having that's being done, I think is a big change in how people look at COVID patients now.
Thank you, doctor. But I think I'll ask Karishma to come in.
Yeah, thank you, Vasanta. Hello, Doc.
Karishma.
Yeah. So basically, even my mantra is all is well. Every morning I tell myself all is well. So that, motivates me a lot. I had a question for you. I heard a famous scientist saying the virus loses strength in the third wave. I just want to know your thoughts on that.
I didn't get the last part. What is that?
The virus loses its strength in the third wave as its mutation is known to lose its virality. So what are your thoughts?
Technically, he may be right. But if you are not strong enough to battle that virus, you're still in trouble. That's why what Dr. Parmesh said comes into play again. You have to vaccinate yourself. That makes you stronger to fight that virus. So I'm not sure if that strength comes down or we become stronger. Probably we become stronger, so that strength comes down. The mutation doesn't change the strength of the virus in any way. If you are vaccinated as a community, as a country, I think we can fight the virus better. That's what I feel.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, doctor. I must tell you that the Dr. Paramesh had the most information on pandemic and environment, and Ram Kumar followed it so beautifully with his Swadharma value from the Gita. And of course, Dr. Arjun added value to it. I think there was a beautiful, beautiful flow. And over to the next speaker, Harshini Devata. Nalini.
Yeah. Thank you, Arjun. That was just fabulous. And these everywhere, every time we see that there is some variant or the other, it's now Delta and then Delta Plus. I hope with whatever inputs we have got, all three of you have put in, that we're going to be safe and sound with the virus. Well, as you know, we can't do much, and you've all given us such wonderful advice. So moving on, how many of us have met women who bake and bike? Quashing the stereotype gender roles and patriarchal myths, vrooming into a male-dominated bastion of bikers, Harshini Venkatesh is there in Bangalore, who rides high with a swag. Toggling between domestic responsibilities and super fast growing businesses, yet biking around the city with a purpose, she has proved that passion is her fuel behind her success. She is a passionate biker and a rallyist, founder of She for Society, an NGO formed by women bikers. She is also the proprietor of Chocolatey Arts, a house of designer chocolates and cakes, and a council member of Wiki Karnataka Women's Defense Personnel Council. She is the biker on the go. So over to you, Harshini.
Hi, good evening, everyone. And thank you for the opportunity for having me over this panel. So I would like to introduce myself with the PPT presentation, introduce our organization. So can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, we can hear you very clearly.
Yeah. So we are a group of women bikers. We are the first women bikers forming an NGO for the Army Jawan families. So according to us, we feel the pillars of our nation are the farmers. The first is the farmers and the Jawans. So there are like very, very less NGOs who support these Army Jawan families. So people always think the government supports the NGOs. So always think they support the Jawan families, they take care of everything. But the fact is, so whoever have been martyred during the war, the government takes the complete care, and they take the complete care of them, and also give a lot of the funds and everything for them. But there are like few families, the army veteran families, who have not been taken care completely by the government. So we came out with this thought to help the Army Jawan families. So we had a mega event. So we started with a mega event. I started that a mega event was my brainchild. So I would like to share. So the purpose of our organization is to support the Indian Armed Forces personnel and their families, to spread awareness about the Indian Defense Forces contribution towards our nation, empower and development programs to support the war widows and the Veeraris, and the conservation of nature, and the support the self-sustainable measures. So this is our team.
Actually, I'm going to interrupt you. I'm sorry. Would you like Nishka to play the PPT? Because it can be done. We're not able to see your PPT.
You're not able to see, is it?
No. I realize that you're not aware of it. So shall I ask her to do it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Sorry, you go on and she'll continue.
Okay.
She'll join you wherever. So you continue your presentation.
Okay. So if she can play the presentation. Yeah.
Yes,
I've already
Harshini.
done with Nishika. You can just move on. Yeah, this is our team, and we are a group of women bikers coming from different streams of profession. Can you move on, Nishika? Yeah, and these are our board members. So move on, Nishika. So we started our organization in 2018 with like a book donation drive, and then we gave some bus passes for around 300 people in the school, in the high school. And we provided all the stationery for 1 complete year.
Next.
Nishika, can you make me as a host? I will share my screen because I can have a flow.
No, it's okay. Let it go on like this. Yep.
Okay. We can move on. So again, we did donated the some relief material for the floods and all. So our mega event was like, to support again Army Jawan families. So we had a rally of around 150 women bikers. We raised funds for the Army Jawan families who were like, whose families were suffering from cancer. So all these 6 ladies who are sitting are suffering from cancer. So we provided around 50,000 cash for them, and these are their spouses. So this was our mega event, and Shobha Karanlaje inaugurated our event. And so just after that, when we were focusing about how to help these Army Jawan families, just then we came through the pandemic, and so we did a lot of initiatives during our first pandemic. So we provided ration for the unrecognized communities like transgenders and transgenders, the sex workers and all. Like we donated ration kits around more than like 4 to 5 lakhs of amount. So also we provided some food packets. So we are all bikers. So I think we were the first biking group organization. So to provide the senior citizens with a lot of medical facilities and all. So it was not available before. It was like a strict lockdown and everyone required passes to move on. But unlike this time, so we operated something like Swiggy, where around 40 bikers were there around Bangalore, and we actually had to travel around more than 70 to 80 kilometers to pick up their medicines and give it to them. We delivered medicines for more than 100 senior citizens that time. So this was after that, during the corona only. So we just not to stop what we are doing to conserve nature and all those things. Like, so we rejuvenated a lake in the same month, June month, in Lakapanahalli. This was the before project and after project. So we keep having some breakfast rides and many rides like this. We always ride for a cause. So just after that, we had planted, we created a biodiversity park where we planted around more than 500 varieties of medicinal plants, where it attracts the birds and butterflies. It was in Parachute Training Regiment Center in Bangalore. And after that, we had virtual events during the pandemic, just to create awareness about the Indian Armed Forces and their families. We had a lot of virtual events with Captain Naveen Nagappa, who had lost his 2 legs during the Kargil War. And we had a lot of dignitaries during our virtual events. These are all, and we also had the boot camps. So we regularly keep on doing the boot camps for the ladies. It's like kind of an empowerment. So we have trained around more than 40 to 50 women with our boot camps, and whatever we collect in the boot camps are used for our initiatives for our towards the Army Jawan families. And these are the awards and a few awards which we have received over like 2 years, like Mahatma Gandhi Darshan Puraskar Award, and Reach for Cause NGO, the best NGO, outstanding NGO awards, and the best real women award, Bhakta Ganapati award. Like we have been receiving for our work, and we are very happy for that. And recently, that this was in 2021 March, on account of Women's Day, we felicitated the women, around more than 35 women from Indian Armed Forces and also the Bangalore Police. So we were the first NGO to felicitate these women, recognizing their bravery to send their spouses, like to support their spouses in army. This was one of our flagship and mega event where we felicitated more than we recognize. There is one fact that many of us don't know. There are like more than 5,000 families in Kargil, in Kolar district, the Army Jawan families. So we went to Kolar and we did a huge survey, and we found like they have a lot of electricity problems. So we supported by felicitating more than 100 Jawan families with solar panel kits, self-installation kits in Kolar district, and 300 bikers from Bangalore to Kolar. We rode and we did a procession of Kargil soil around the Kolar. And this was the first ever time in India to felicitate more than 100 Jawans actually. And this year also we have provided the grocery kits for around more than 750 people and families here in Bangalore, and we also provided free ambulances around the Bangalore. And please follow us and kindly support us on the Facebook, Instagram, and the Twitter.
Yeah, very nice, Harshini. That was, we wanted to support all the social workers who have been extremely supportive during the pandemic time. But could you tell me that you deal with so many critical COVID situations? Your volunteers must be breaking down. How do you manage their mental wellness?
Yeah. So this was very challenging because, even though you're maintaining the social distancing, and even when we go for the distribution and all, we have to be very careful. In spite of being very careful, many of them got affected with the COVID. So this is very challenging, and you have to be very brave to come on field and do the groundwork before distributing and all those things. So it was really very challenging. In spite of that, our volunteers came forward, and during the last year distribution of the groceries, and even during this time, and providing the the medicines for the senior citizens, it was tough actually. It was very tough.
Yeah, Srini, you wanted to ask her something, right?
I'll ask you a very quick question, Harshini. What are the challenges did you face while helping COVID-related patients? Is it similar to the whatever question if Vasanta had asked? If it's similar to that, then we can avoid it. Yeah.
Yeah, it is actually very similar.
Yeah. Okay. Then thank you, because in the previous question you've answered most of it, and with your explanation was mostly answered. Thank you so much, Harshini.
Thank you so much, Harshini. Now, Mr. Vaikunt wants to ask a question to Mr. Ram Seshu. Could you, Mr. Vaikunt, could you just come? Hello.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Ramkumar, after this pandemic is over, we should go back to our normal life, the old life, where we meet people, we celebrate with people, and all that has to be done with caution and care. working from home and ordering for food from a restaurant and eating at home should not become a normal life after the pandemic is over. We have to go back. We have to celebrate our life with whether you go to a restaurant, whether you go to a bar, whether you go to marriages, whether you go to a temple, everything has to be done. This cannot continue forever. But of course, with caution and care. That is the way life has to be lived. Life cannot be lived in isolation, having a Zoom. We have to go back to the hall in a hotel where we meet people and we interact with people. What do you think about that?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. I'm waiting to meet up with Nalini and Shirni and Basanta and everybody. I am a complete social animal. I mean, I would, let me tell you one thing, sir. I come from a tradition of attending 3 parties a night. So, I mean, if I could actually squeeze in the 4th, I would have done it. So I'm not against that at all, sir. I think 100%.
Call me next time.
Please, would definitely do that. So my point, sir, is that yes, we have to go back. We have to go back to work. We have to go back to doing what we are doing. But the 6 principles that I talked about is that these are things that we've got used to. You know, the whole concept of me time, family bonding, getting along with friends, connecting with old friends, doing good to the world, searching within for what makes you happy. This is not mutually exclusive. Even though we will go back to doing what we want to do, we will continue to do all of what we've done and learned during the pandemic. That's my limited points.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
A very good answer.
Great question.
Now, thank you. Over to Nalini for introducing Kritya.
Thank you, Vasanta. That was great. A good question round, and thank you, Harshini. Very well spoken about all the work that you do, and kudos to you all, the ladies team. I think it's really important that women take the forefront also. So finally, moving on, we have a very young lady, Kritya Sunil. She's in the 12th standard of the Malya Aditi school. So we have heard different perceptions, and now we are looking at what a young person feels when they're locked into their home with their family and nobody else, and during lockdown, no friends. How does it feel? So Kritika, can you come in and tell us about your thoughts?
Yeah, hi. So I'm Kritya from Malayaditi International School. I'm in 12th grade. And as we all are aware, COVID-19 has had some detrimental consequences on economies and countries worldwide, and we see it affecting every one of our lives. However, there are still some positive aspects to it, and that have positively impacted the lives of all of our students. And of course, my school and my social life has been hugely impacted by the pandemic. I've spent my entire life at the Aditi campus, and it feels so surreal to have barely visited it this past year. I fondly remember how my friends and I would often try to bunk school, either by faking a cough or by purposely missing the bus. And it's so ironic to say that right now, because now we'd give anything to go back to the campus. And the pandemic has taught us to not take things for granted, I think, because a wise man once said, you truly appreciate something only when it's gone. And this past year strongly resonates with this proverb. I believe that this deadly virus has made us all just a bit better at being humans, whether that means cherishing every moment with our loved ones or helping out those in need. And as a lover of learning, I was someone who would thoroughly enjoy classes. And I was someone who would miss school over the weekend and look forward to Mondays most of the time. And while online classes can be monotonous and straining, as with everything else, there is a silver lining to them too. Of course, we save all that time that was once lost in Bangalore traffic, which we can use to pursue a myriad of things, or just sit back, relax, and rediscover ourselves. Personally, I have taken up to painting, baking, and gymming. And honestly, if not for the lockdown, I would never have picked up a dumbbell in my life, let alone do a push up. The pandemic has resulted in our drastic character development, which otherwise would not have happened. And the situation has forced us all to adapt to the online medium, making us more tech savvy than ever before, an essential skill that will definitely benefit us in the technology filled tomorrows. Amazing platforms like Google Classroom have made it easy to access content, submit assignments, and receive grades. And many of my classmates and I are upset that we couldn't organize school festivals and events, but now we're super excited to come up with ways to integrate them online, which I think sparks creativity in a lot of us. And this also opens several avenues for us, such as inviting like international guest speakers and easily reaching an infinite audience through the internet. Online learning has helped us facilitate another aspect of education from the comfort of our homes by providing us with premium courses from across the world. Who would have thought 2 years ago we could enhance our knowledge and skill sets all with just a laptop? In a way, being confined to our four walls has made us all more self sufficient and prepared to take a leap into the real world. We have all taken up our fair share of chores at home. We've become more receptive to deadlines, and we spend more time self studying rather than simply being spoon fed, which shapes us into independent and self confident individuals. People often told me that my teenage years would be the best years of my life. And while it is upsetting that I have to spend my last year in school staring at a computer screen, all in all, it hasn't been that bad, especially since I've learned to focus on the larger picture and have a positive outlook towards school, home, and everything in between. The world has shown great courage, compassion, and kindness during these trying times. And as this virus passes us by, I am looking forward to a better tomorrow, and I'm hopeful of a new era where we can finally unmask with an upgraded generation. We might be divided by 6 feet, but we will be united by hope. Thank you.
Oh, that was brilliant, Kritya. And my heart goes out to your student community. And I've always felt that. And then your coming to Just Speak has only made me so happy that you could share your experiences and thoughts. Now it's almost like losing two precious years of your teenage life. I can understand. But I think you've pretty much answered all my questions, saying that, how do you cope with this strange situation? And what I like about the whole Just Speak thing is the positive note all the speakers kept on, which is what we wanted to convey to our viewers. And that was really, really brilliant, Kritya. And God bless you and have a super, super year ahead. And as I said, we will open the curtain. The world will open the curtain for all of us where it doesn't have to be shut again. Now, I'm going to go to a very big surprise guest, Mr. Ibrahim, who is the owner of Beijing Bites. He is a COVID survivor and a warrior who will share his experience. Someone who couldn't continue to see hunger, misery, helplessness around, stood up to help. Over to you, Ibrahim.
I'm trying to, okay, I've unmuted myself. Okay, hi. My name is Ibrahim, and my journey with this started last year, a little before the lockdown, when I realized the economic activity had died down. And there are a lot of people who are daily wage laborers and everything who are hungry because they had nowhere to go. So we started distributing free food, and that's where my journey started. And for the first 2 months, we just distributed free food to people who couldn't afford it, and ration kits, food. We started doing all of this. Even before the lockdown was announced, we had distributed over 1,500 kits of food, 1,500 kits. And then the free food continued, and it taught us a lot. It taught us, at least it taught me, we shouldn't be wasting even a single morsel of food. The kind of things I've seen have been absolutely mind-boggling. Used to be very difficult to come back home after all of that and, go back to sleep. But then we learned to cope with all of that. I have 3 kids and I have my aged mom at home. So it used to be very scary to come back home. I would sit in the car for hours when I get back, sitting in the sun, just hoping that if there is any COVID, it would just go off with the sun. They were very stupid, but then, yeah, that was the only thing I was doing at that time. Rush home, take a shower, and then go and meet the rest of the family. So after which the migrants came in. So we started helping the migrants, getting migrants right from the highways where they were trying to walk home, bringing them back and getting them on trains and everything. And then the medical emergencies started, and then the stigma of COVID was so bad that people didn't want to even touch their loved ones when they were passed away. And I don't agree that the stigma is gone now, because we still get calls where people don't want to come. A son doesn't want to come for his mother's funeral. Those are the sad things that we see. The parents don't want to come for a child, for an infant's funeral, where we pick up the bodies. We have picked up bodies right from in my car. I've taken infants' bodies in my car and kept them in the freezers in a different hospital and taken them to the burial grounds the next day. I mean, but the point here is that this is our country. This is my city. I can't see it going for shambles. This will pass. This too will pass. But thing is, how we are going to handle it is going to determine what your character is made up of. So this, I did COVID testings, moving COVID patients in my car to hospitals, all of that. It just made us realize that we need to value the life that we are living. You die once, but you live every day. So as much as possible, you should help people, because all of us don't have the opportunity to help people. So when we've been given this opportunity, we have to grab it with both hands. So that's what we did. So we used to coordinate, like we were working for about 22 hours in this wave, in the second wave. And during the course of this, I got positive, and my wife, my mother, my kids were all positive. Well, that was a dreadful period. It was a scary period, because we didn't know what's going to happen. But thankfully, in the bargain, I've made so many new friends from the last wave, so many new friends, that they all came and stood by me without the stigma. I had people calling me every day. I had doctors coming, visiting me at home, so that made it very easy for me to tide by these tough times. And thankfully, we didn't have to visit hospitals. So, and there was no religious divide at all. Like I always say that, politics divided us and COVID united us. I was associated with I'm still associated with a team called Mercy Mission, where we have right from Umar to Mithun to Rahul. So all of us would work together, and we still work together. So we get distress calls at any part of the day or night. We are there with the ambulances to help the people, because this is our city, and that's what we've been doing. So there are a lot of incidents. Every day is a new story. Every day is a new case. So we have to be one of the cases probably which I can recall and tell you is of a 21-year-old girl who's a IAS aspirant, a UPSC aspirant, who lost her father 5 months back and lost her mother a couple of weeks back. And so she's orphaned. But thing is that she was an adopted child. So she's lost 2 sets of parents. And her family wants her to give up all the property because she's adopted. So went and helped her out with that. And I've taken her in. Her name is Bharni. I've taken her in as my sister. So I said, you need anything, give me a call. And I keep a check on her, and, making sure that the property gets registered on her name, and the relatives and everybody are at bay. So that's one child I'm taking care of as my own. Apart from which, there are untold number of orphans. There was one lady who delivered who had a fetus born dead, finished that, and then the lady died. And the child doesn't know that the mother, her elder daughter doesn't know that the mother's no more. So her father told the daughter that your mother's gone with Durga Amma to fight COVID. So that was like heartbreaking for me. But then I went and met the child, and she was laughing, and she was happy. She was drawing, and she drew a photograph. She drew with her crayons her father, mother, and her. So I think we'll all fight it out. Yeah. At the end of the day, we have to live it. And there's a very interesting quote that I read today. I'd like to read it out here. One second. A very, very nice one, which you'd probably see. Unused money devalues, unused talent diminishes, unused potential decays, unused machinery disintegrates, unused time dies, unused knowledge becomes a burden. What isn't used is abused. The tragedy of life isn't the ultimate death, but the resources that die within you when you are still alive. Use it or you will lose it. That's all.
Thank you so much, Ibrahim, for your sharing your experiences. And I must thank all of you and the audience and the viewers who have always supported us, the Just Speak. That's why we are able to run it. And Nalini, you can thank the speakers.
Thank you, Vasanta. This has been just an amazing program. We have had so much of inputs from all the speakers, and it's been a lot of learning. Yes, this time I agree has brought so much of change, but in my mind, it's probably all for the better. People working from home are saving a lot of money. Home chefs, bakers, people are doing a lot more work. People like Harshini are doing lots of work by serving the public. Our LSN Trust is also doing very, very occupied. We've never been so busy as now. Social media has taken a completely different turn. Just like our young lady Kritya told us, we are learning now. We have been forced to learn, which was earlier young person's domain. People have learned to help each other. We are spending a lot of me time, as Ram said, with the family. Families and friends are becoming more important. And a lot of things are happening. People are definitely getting together and doing a lot more work. With this, I need to thank everybody. You've all been wonderful speakers. It has been a great experience today. We have overshot our time, but I think well so, because we learned so much. Speakers were brilliant. Thanks again to the Just Speak team. I got to thank Vasanta and Sirini, Reshma, everybody for putting this together. So thanks everybody. Wonderful having you.
Thank you.
Those who stayed, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you everyone, and thank you the team and Nishka, who has been very supportive as always as a host. I must thank that little girl. Always I'm grateful to her. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.
And see you all next.
Super.
See you all for
Thank you.
sure
Thank you.
next time. And Ram, waiting to party with you.
Oh wow, Dr. Parmesh and I are great party buddies. So
Okay, then then I'm in.
Vasanta, anyway, soon you'll join the Rotary Club, and so you have their company.
Absolutely.
Oh yes. Thank you so much. Thanks indeed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Namaskar.
Excellent session. Congratulations to Just Speak.
Thank you, Bharat. I must thank Bharat. He is the sole person who keeps helping me all the time with the Zoom and with this equipment and everything. I mean, how can I take you for granted? I'm so sorry.
Not at all. It's the least that I can do to Just Speak team. It was a fantastic event. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
And he's from a wealth management company, very extremely reputed. You can get in touch with him. Yes, you can multiply your money.
Thank you, Vasanta.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very interesting evening.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Vijay. Thanks a lot for logging in. Bye.
We really learned so much from Ram, Dr. Parmesh, Arjun. It was just super. We learned a lot.
Absolutely.
Yes, and yeah, absolutely fantastic. And Dr. Paramesh, I have no words to tell you
Oh my God.
how brilliant you were. I mean, there were so many takeaways. And Dr. Arjun, I mean, he covered all the points so in a very crisp way and very short, and there were brilliant takeaways. And Ram Seshu, as always, I like your style of talking. Even the Bhagavad Gita is spoken in style.
Wow.
Very good take, actually. Ram has given a twist to the whole thing, and well so, because Ram, the way you have put it in present terms, the Bhagavad Gita makes a lot of impact on the way you have analyzed and put it across.
Nalini, if you have the time, just go to my YouTube channel. There are about
Of course, I've seen it already. Thank you.
On the
But
Gita.
Ram, that's how
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it.
I write, I have been teaching for the last 30 years.
Wow.
And now I'm writing a book for Spice for the Soul. So, which means it's Gita for the soul. So, which will be for youngsters mostly. Let's see, God willing, we'll complete it.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%, man.
Thank you.
Ram.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, sir.
Wonderful. Thanks a lot.
Nalini, thanks again. Okay.
Thank you, doctor. Your
Nalini
inputs as
and-
usual are always so good.
With
So useful to us.
I enjoyed it. Thank you.
And thank you for staying with us till the end. I really appreciate.
Reshma and Nalini, thank you so much.
Reshma is the one who has put all of you together. So I must thank Reshma once again for her efforts. Absolutely.
And Vasanta, with your permission, I'd really love to thank Kritya. I think fabulous.
Yeah, she was
This is
brilliant.
very good.
Young
Very
lady,
good.
you
Absolutely
were
brilliant.
absolutely delightful.
No, but before I could ask her any question, I think she answered everything. And then when we had that discussion, she covered all the points that I had in my head. She was brilliant.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely fabulous.
Thank you so much. This opportunity means so much to me. I think
Oh, we
this
would
is the
like to
first-
encourage you guys. And
Yeah.
please let us know in Just Speak if you want to do something like this for the students. We'll be very happy to do.
I will, of course. My school has a lot of public speaking events, so I will suggest.
Yeah, because Just Speak is meant for social issues. Yeah.
Ma'am, with your permission, I'll say good
Yeah.
night.
Thank you.
so
Thank
much.
you so
Thank
much.
Thank you,
Purvi,
Ram. Thank you,
Nalini,
Everybody.
Vasanta and Reshma. God bless you all.
Thanks. Thank you so much.
Bye, Vasanta. Nice.
Bye, Namita. You always support
To
me.
us.
I know. But this time we exceeded the time. But it was worth it, like because people were so good. I didn't want to stop anybody.
But 2 hours just flew by. So it was
Yeah,
interesting.
that was.
Yes,
And
was
all the
really
known
so
people. So
good.
it is nice to hear the known people. Ram
Yes,
and Dr. Arjun and all the Rotarians. And,
Yes.
Ram.
I'm a very non-Rotarian, but okay.
Soon you're going to be one. I heard about that.
No, I'm not I mean, my first experience in Rotary. So
Vasanta Girish is my brother who's going to take over.
I know,
as
he told me.
Yeah.
And I also told him that, oh, my flower lady.
So it's nice to know you're going to be there. Oh, Bharti is there. Hi, Bharti.
Hi, Bharti.
She's muted, I think.
Yeah, but I think all my friends have come. I'm so happy.
Vijay is also there. And
Yeah.